Welcome to Look Around the Confederation. I'm your host, the Evening Moose. And before we get started, please remember the views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the SCV, its GEC, nor divisions, brigade camps, or any other subsidiaries. How is everybody doing in Dixieland tonight? We have an action-packed show for you. We'll go over some news. We have Councilman Kenny Ramsey on, and of course, South Carolina Division Commander Mr. Perry Smith. He's the first time he's on the show, so I'm looking in great anticipation to hear from the South Carolina Division. It is one of my favorite things and blessings in my life to be able to hear what all these divisions are doing and get to report on, of course, y'all's news as well. Before we get started, please remember to share this out. I want to see it shared out to everywhere, all to your camp pages, your brigade pages, army pages, and of course, any other in between. We do have the Lone Ranger, Past Commander-in-Chief Chuck McMichael on the chat. Good to see you. Derek in the chat. Good to see you. Mr. Frank in the chat. Al in the chat. David in the chat. Good to see you. And of course, our Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief himself, Walter D. Donnie Kennedy. I am in a different place this afternoon, as you can tell. I'm in upper Mississippi. We don't say northern Mississippi here. It's all upper. There is no north here in Mississippi. So I'm in upper Mississippi tonight. Have some work I need to take care of here I don't know if y'all can figure out where I am, but I'm sure y'all figure it out. But I have some work to take care of this weekend, so I had to move locations on you. And let's see here. Anything else? All right. So we're going to start off the show a bit differently. Normally I'd go in the news, but I'm going to go ahead and throw on Army of Northern Virginia Councilman Kenny Ramsey, and he's going to talk for a couple minutes. I'll go into the news. We'll take a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we have the meat of the program. South Carolina Division Commander Perry Smith. So before I bring on Kenny, because I love making Councilman Ramsey wait. It is one of the joys of my life to mess with him when he cannot defend himself behind the scenes. And he loves bringing out puppets, apparently, to mess with me. That's joyful. Wow. All right, then. But if you don't know what this topic is this Thursday, of course, every Thursday here, we either have the Commander-in-Chief on to talk about a national update, Army of Northern Virginia, like tonight, the Army of Trans-Mississippi, the Army of Tennessee. In those armies, some Thursdays we'll get the cool episode where we get to spotlight a division, and that's what we're having tonight. So our focus is going to be on the Army of Northern Virginia, but with a certified focus, I guess that's the word I'm looking for, on South Carolina. They have a beautiful logo that, bless his heart, I asked Commander Smith for like today, I think. But it is outstanding. You'll see it in the promotional for tonight's episode. Please check it out. And again, share this out. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce everybody to Army of Northern Virginia Councilman Kenny Ramsey.
Well, thank you, Moose, and greetings to everybody out there watching this Look Around the ANV, Army of Northern Virginia. For the past couple of months, Army Commander Kevin Stone and myself have been just discussing everything we know about the entire Army of Northern Virginia, everything going on. Tonight, as has already been said, we're going to be spotlighting South Carolina. That is the southernmost state in the Army of Northern Virginia. And as most of you know, South Carolina has the honor of being the first state to declare its independence from the United States. And it was the first states to actually fire on Union forces. Tonight, as has been announced, we will have the Commander of South Carolina Division, Perry Smith, here. And we appreciate him coming in here. And with that said, I'm going to welcome Perry, and when it's his time, he can take it over. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. It's always a pleasure to have you on, and I cannot wait to hear about South Carolina. I was in South Carolina about a year ago. Beautiful state. I got to see a lot of history there, and it was always a privilege to learn new history, especially my family. We're full of historians, God bless us. But thank you again, Councilman. I'm going to dive into the news, get a quick commercial break, and we'll be back, as I said, with South Carolina Division Commander Perry Smith. So thank you, Councilman. I will hopefully talk to you for a bit after the show. Kenny is a talker. He just talks, and every time I get behind the scenes with him, he can't defend himself, which makes it even funnier to me. But we're going to go through some of the camp news real quick, and of course, national news. Let's see here, what do I have first? Well, first, let me bring this up. Almost there. There it is. We'll talk about the Stephen D. Lee Institute. So, February 16th through the 17th in 2024 in Columbia, Tennessee, it will be the home of the Stephen D. Lee Institute. It will, of course, the theme be who we are as a people and an organization. The Friday night reception will be held at the National Confederate Museum. And, of course, you can see a list of presenters. I highly encourage everybody to go visit the website and sign up. It's going to be a great one. I cannot wait for it. I love these. We'll have to debate that, Commander, in a minute. But it's always a great event. You learn a lot. And as I've always said, in the war we are facing today, this cold war for our heritage, it will not be won by bullets, fists, or anything like that. It's going to be won by our minds and our mouths. And so information is power. So make sure to visit this website, get all the information you can, and make sure to sign up. And I hope we can all see you there. Next bit of news comes out of the Samuel H. Poe Camp number 255. They're celebrating, or we are celebrating, this is my camp, our 30th year of rechartering. And so we got these 30th anniversary challenge coins, special edition. You can contact me, Harrison SCV on Facebook, and of course my father, Forrest SCV. We are both, he is the camp commander, I'm the camp adjutant, to get one of these. I have been extremely slammed, so if you have emailed me about this, my apologies. I had a crazy event in October that required my full attention. Some of you know it. It was fall muster, so we have been just slam-packed here in the Mississippi Division. But I will get in touch with everybody very shortly. So again, please contact me or my father, and we can get you one of these very special edition challenge coins, $10. Now, I don't know which camp did this one, but they're doing a turkey shoot. Of course, this is Councilman Ramsey's camp. They are doing a turkey shoot November 18th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. It is a Southern holiday tradition, and I believe they also have one in December, if I'm not mistaken. Shake your head. Yeah, okay, we're going to go with it. I think that was your shake of the head. We're going to hope so. But turkey shoots are always fun. My camp does one as a fundraiser. And if you are in these areas, go support these events. We need to support each other. It's more important now than ever to support your local SCV, your division SCV, and any SCV you can get to. I drive to Tennessee quite a bit, so I like to support some Tennessee events when I have the time. And sometimes I make plans and they fall through, but make sure you can try to make that commitment and go out and support these camps. Let's go down the list. Let's see here. Yes. The Battle of Skirham Creek. I know I probably said that wrong, but we're just going to act like I purposely said it right, and we're going to continue on. It will be November 3rd through the 5th. They will have infantry, mounted and dismounted cavalry, and artillery. Period settlers, non-period settlers, food and entertainments, ladies' tea, and much, much more. There's a $5 reenact registration fee, $10 though, with a meal. Reenactors, please contact Mr. Jeremy Booth at his phone number listed below. Let me, 1 second. My aide de camp, who should know better than calling me on a Thursday, I'm going to call him out real quick, is calling me. So I'm going to have to mess with him about that later. Thank you, Jack. I saw your phone call. I'm not ignoring you, but I will call you back later. Let's see, the next show. Actually, that was this past weekend. So I'm looking for some pictures for that. So if you were able to go to that event, please send them in. The General Forest 200 Society. Of course, this was made to celebrate 200 years of General Forest. And all donations go to preserving General Forest's boyhood home. $200 membership fee. You get this lovely challenge coin, this patch, and a label pin. Of course, here's the information. If you need a clearer picture of this form, please contact us here at SCV Chat. We'll be happy to provide it. General Forest, of course, I don't think I need to explain who he is. And it's a very cool thing. Again, I'm still trying to save up, bless my heart, to afford to be in this General Forest 200 Society. But if you have the money, it's just an awesome thing to do. You're helping the boyhood home. You're helping preserve General Forest's legacy. I don't think I need to run home how important that is to this crowd. So please, if you can, join. All right, moving on to the next bit of news. Let's see here. The Alabama Educational Conference. It will be, let's see here, March 16th, 2024. Of course, you see a couple of their keynote speakers. Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Ron Kennedy. Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief, Walter D. Donnie Kennedy. David Benner, Ryan Walters, who's been a guest on our show before, and Tom Daniel. Alabama knocks it out of the park with these. Again, in this war, education is key. We have to educate ourselves before we can go and educate others. And trust me, education will be a key to many victories in this war. So please go sign up. Alabama knocks it out of the park. Beautiful event, very educational event. You'll have a great time there too. So I highly recommend you go. Let's see here. I think we have a couple of comments in the chat. Let's see here. Why no 16G? I don't know, Commander. I'm drawing a blank of what you're talking about. So if you could text me, I'll make sure if I missed any news to talk about it. We have Mr. Sean in the chat now, the Florida man, one of our new hosts here on the show. Mr. Sean is having a good day, hopefully. I'll probably talk to you at some point next week. Mr. Sean will be helping me next week. And we also have the most sharp-dressed man in the SCV in the chat, Past Commander-in-Chief Paul Gramlin Jr. All right. Let's see here. Let's continue going down the list. The Army of Tennessee workshop will be May 4th, 2024. May the 4th be with you. From 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Conference Center at Elm Springs in Columbia, Tennessee, of course, our headquarters. There are only 65 spots available for this workshop due to room size, so register early to guarantee your spot. Registration fee is $15. This includes lunch. Please pre-register by March 15th for lunch. After March 15th, the registration fee will be $20 and no lunch will be guaranteed. All divisions are welcome. Speakers will include Membership Coordinator Eric Pavetti, talking about Commander and Adjutant training. Army of Tennessee Councilman Carl Jones on building a better camp. Army of Tennessee Commander Jimmy Hill talking about community involvement and other subjects to change. Let's see here. And of course, this will be going on during our national pilgrimage to Elm Springs. And we will take a break during this moment of the workshop and go support that event. Again, supporting Confederate events are important. So we're going to have a great time that day. I'm looking forward to it. Again, you learn so much from these workshops and these educational conferences on how to be a better SCV member, how to be a better historian, and it's just a wonderful event. I've been to a couple of Army of Tennessee workshops and have had a just phenomenal time. And so I wanted to make sure you knew about it, and hopefully I see you there. All right, we're going to keep going down the card with Camp Moore, which is this weekend, I think, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Kentwood, Louisiana. I am going to turn off Kenny Ramsey's camera. It is $20 per person, which includes a plate lunch and admission to their amazing museum. Reenactors on site and artillery will be demonstrated. All proceeds will benefit Camp Moore Museum. Of course, this is sponsored by the SCV MC1B, the Louisiana OCR, and the Washington Rifles Camp. Camp Moore is a very beautiful and wonderful place. I've gotten to go, sadly, I think only once, but I do plan on making a couple of trips that way in the near future. So I do hope to go see Camp Moore. I say they have a very similar situation to what we here in Mississippi have with Beauvoir. And so I would really love to see it again. And I didn't tour the museum last time I was there. So that'd be a lovely educational experience for me. Support these events. Again, I cannot drive home how important it is to support these events. And of course, Camp Moore is telling real history. And we all know how rare that is these days for a museum of any kind telling real history. So we need to support the ones that are. All right. Going back down the list. Well, we all know how I like to mispronounce words. So we're just going to kind of blow through that name because I know I'm going to butcher it. The Battle of DeBoer Landing? You wouldn't think I've studied this war. I promise you, I have studied the war between the states thoroughly. I just can't pronounce any of the names. It will be March 9th through the 10th in 2024. It will be at the State Park in Farmerville, Louisiana. Step back in time as Union troops assault Confederate defenses to march to Shreveport. Oh, I have some Shreveport people in the chat. I just realized I'm about to get roasted. Oh, and there's the first one. I love Past Commander-in-Chief Chuck McMichael. He is so quick on the gun too. He sent me that text before I even got done. That is impressive. I think he knew I was going to butcher that. But one more time, the Battle of Darbone Landing. You can't blame me. I'm from Mississippi. You Louisiana boys just have some very complicated names for a Mississippian. We are simple here in Mississippi. We don't. Our state is named Great Lake. Think about it. That's the meaning behind Mississippi. I don't even want to check the chat. There's 5 people. 5 people. Oh, I love this job. We have Edward Phillips in the chat. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you, Miss Linda Gramlin. Good to see you, Gigi. Let's see here. Oh, no worries, Mr. Edward. Y'all are telling me it's because of my education at a university that shall not be named. That's cruel. But considering how their history department is, I could agree with you on that. All right, we're about to be wrapping up the news so we can give our guests plenty of time to talk, but just a couple more things. First, the Louisiana Division is their 125th anniversary and the 160th anniversary of the Red River Campaign. This will be a big year in Louisiana coming up, and their division commander has promised me that more information will be coming to light shortly. So we'll talk to them about it when that time comes. I just want to keep that in the back of your mind. Remember it. Think on it. Mississippi had our 125th a couple years ago, actually. It's when I first got sucked in to doing more for the SCV, and it turned into all this, which is again a blessing. So let me pull up this fundraiser information, and we will talk about this fundraiser next for a headstone. I have to get all the information real quick. There it is. All right, let me pull it up. Posting the link to support this event or support this fundraising event in the chat. Let's see here. Landon Carter Hayes was a Tennessee politician and a Confederate senator during the war between the states. He was born and raised in Carter County and inherited the Hipton Hayes estate when he got married. During the war, he moved to Richmond, Virginia as a Confederate senator. During and after the war, Senator Hayes lost his property and moved to Memphis, Tennessee, where he lived the rest of his life. He was buried in Memphis and then later moved to Jackson, Tennessee, where he no longer has a headstone. It is the goal of our camp to fundraise and have a headstone erected for him. This project is by the Lieutenant Robert J. Tipton, SCV Camp 2083. Of course, the link is in the chat for this. Our Commander-in-Chief has already supported this project, and it is very important for these type of projects that if you can spend the money to send anything helps. $5, $2. While you might sit back and like, oh, it's not doing much. It gets them that much closer to their goal to honor this man. So please, again, if you can support these events, and of course support something like this, please don't go eat Popeyes tonight. Just $5, man. And that's all it takes. So I want to thank them for sending that in. I would like see how they're doing on that. Dr. Mitchum would be a good one to come on to talk about the Red River campaign. Of course, if you're new here, Dr. Mitchum is, of course, one of our frequent historians that have came on to the chat. We have had lovely conversations with him, and he will actually be on the show shortly. We're talking right now about setting a schedule in place for him to come on. So if you love our Dr. Mitchum episodes, I have a great news. We're planning one out right now. Let's see here. Well, past Commander-in-Chief Chuck McMichael, please send me a poster for that event on April 6, 2024 in Mansfield. Mr. Edward, so true. All that you can be in the, yeah. Yes, Chief of Heritage Operations. It's an online donation. It is a GoFundMe. I put the link in the chat. It's, of course, scrolling on the bottom of the screen as well. I put it in the chat for easy access. So if you would like to go support this event, please support this tomb headstone. I'll get it out eventually. Please follow the link. It is hot in this room. I haven't been in this house in months. I'm sweating down. But let's see here if we have any more news, and then we can take a quick Pop-Tart break and bring on our guest. It looks like, ladies and gentlemen of the South, it is time to hit a Pop-Tart break. So while I'm getting that ready, does anybody have any questions about the news? I might not be able to answer them, but I will hopefully get you in touch with someone who can. Of course, it's very important we get all this information out on the camp level, brigade level, division level, Army level, national level. This is a way to better communicate your events. And of course, you give me the joy of seeing all these SCV events, and I love it. So send in your news after event pictures and reports before event. We'll be talking about how fall muster went shortly, probably not next Monday, but the Monday after that, maybe. And so, again, please send in your pictures and stuff. I can't stress how important it is and how awesome it is to give ourselves a pat on the back every now and then. Councilman Ramsey has a tiny little, is that Robert E. Lee? I believe that is Bobby Lee. I can always count on Councilman Ramsey to make me laugh during this show because y'all can't see him, but he is having the time of his life behind the camera right now. Just making me laugh. But before we get any further, let's go into our commercial break, our Pop-Tart break. And when we're back, South Carolina Division Commander Perry Smith will be on to give an update on South Carolina, everything they're doing, and of course, just what's been going on in the SCV over there. And I can't wait to talk to them and just sit back and have a good time and talk about the SCV. All right, so remember, like every episode, tonight's Pop-Tart break is sponsored by the Kennedy Twins' newest book, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government. Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government is about how Jefferson Davis was a leader in the high road to emancipation. He looked for a day which slaves would be prepared to live and participate in society. He did more, though, than advocate for this high road to emancipation. He practiced his beliefs in the ultimate emancipation of Southern slaves, and many of his former slaves left for prosperity in their testimony about their former master who prepared them to be self-sustaining members of society. You can get the Kennedy Twins' newest book, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government, at www.kennedytwins.com and most online bookstores, including www.scv.org and www.visitbeauvoir.org, both listed in the gift shop section of their respective websites. Please try to support our people first, everyone. Let's see here. I was going to let that one make me laugh. All right. And when we get back, we will have South Carolina Division Commander Perry Smith on, and we'll be right back.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost, stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
We want to thank the Kennedy Twins one more time for sponsoring tonight's Pop-Tart break. Again, you can get their most recent book, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government, at www.kennedytwins.com and most online bookstores, including www.scv.org and www.visitbeauvoir.org, both listed in their gift shop sections of their respective websites. How are you doing, Commander Smith?
I am well. How about you, Moose?
Oh, this is what I love to do. So I'm in hog heaven right now. So, of course, there's a bit of a distance between South Carolina and Mississippi, especially southern Mississippi. So I'm very interested to see and hear about everything that y'all have been up to. And, of course, just talk about the SCV with you.
Well, I actually was through upper Mississippi last week on my way back from Arkansas. So I travel a lot, and it gives you a good perspective. I love being south of the Mason-Dixon line, and my recent travels to Chicago and D.C., the whole time I was up there, it's like, I can't wait to get back. I just can't wait because those people ain't right. So in
Amen.
any case, it's a pleasure being with y'all tonight, and thank you for the honor of being on here. South Carolina, we've been up to a lot of stuff. It's not a lot visually because we're working behind the scenes. We are trying to modernize. We realize that moving forward, everything is being done through the internet, all accounting and everything else. So behind the scenes, my staff and I have been working to centralize databases. So that way, give an example, typically, and I'm sure you'll see this in most of the divisions and even in most of the camps, that there's one person in that division that has the roster roles, and there's another person in a camp that has their roster roles, and all of this information. And what I've always feared, both in my business as well as in the SCV, is that one person gets injured, is no longer around. What happens to all of our information? So we've been concentrating on gathering this and getting this centralized. And I'm not just talking about roster roles and financials, and we're about to do QuickBooks for our finances, but simple stuff that we need to preserve for our children and grandchildren, such as soldiers list, where are they buried, the list of that, who were the guardians. I've also got my staff working on updating lists and histories of the division, because 100 years from now, our great-grandchildren need to be aware of what we men and women did to preserve our history and to honor our ancestors. So there's a whole lot that goes into that, and I didn't realize there was going to be so many layers to the onion when I got volunteered to be the division commander. And I know all of y'all smiling because y'all were in the same position before, but I would like to update y'all onto some less boring stuff that has happened over the last year or two within the division. And there's been some highlights. There's no way I could ever cover and cheerlead enough for the men of this division. I count myself very proud and lucky to have the fine brothers that I have from within South Carolina, as well as the Southern Confederacy, but especially South Carolina. It's always been my home. And growing up, my hero was General Francis Marion, who is about as South Carolina and independent. And all those men that were the grandfathers of our Confederate ancestors that fought for our nation of the South, in the late 1700s. And so I have a love of history, and all these men, we're fighting to preserve not only our Confederate history, but all of our history. Whether it's South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, anywhere in the Confederacy, they're trying to rule us out. I mean, dear God, we're being invaded again. If that China virus did anything, it just hurried up the migration from up north to coming south. And, on one side, it's like, y'all go home. And the other side of me basically says, I can't really blame them. I wouldn't want to live up there. I'd want to come down south. Okay. But the problem is, and all of our southern states are having this effect, is, they're bringing their culture and we're losing ours. And the culture of sweet tea and boiled peanuts and grits, and it's only being shared so much, and the way our grandmamas used to speak and talk, and our granddaddy's taking us for a walk. I hate the thought that that'll be forever gone, but we must continue fighting. In the division, one thing that I'm going to highlight one of our camps, the Adam Ballinger camp in Spartanburg, South Carolina. About a year and a half ago, started raising money, bought a piece of land right alongside of I-85, major transit between Charlotte and Atlanta. And they hoisted a flagpole up there, got permissions and everything. Flagpole's up. They were going to have an official flag raising, so they flew up our Palmetto state flag up onto the top of that pole. And it stayed there for 2 to 3 months while we were preparing to raise our southern banners up on that pole, and no problems. Everybody loved it. And the moment they hoisted an ANV flag up there that measured 30 feet by 50 feet and was on a nice peak next to I-85, you could see it 6 miles away coming up and down I-85. But once that flag went up, you know, the people went nuts. And there was a lot of them that were great, but town council and everybody else all of a sudden decided it's like, oh, they've broken the law and yada, yada, yada. So that's one of the lawsuits we're involved with right now. I know all the divisions have all of theirs. My ancestors all came from Georgia. So I keep up with Georgia, and they are doing a great job in Georgia as well. But we have multiple lawsuits all through the division, and to preserve our history. And it's an awful shame that we have to actually go into court to preserve the name and the honor of our ancestors. I think it's absolutely sickening. However, that's what we all got to do. Y'all all know it. I'm preaching to the choir here. And you know what? We're going to do it. South Carolina was the tip of the spear. We repelled the British right outside of Charleston here, ran them off. We ran off the French 100 years before that when they demanded the surrender of Charleston. We're keeping fighting. When Lincoln basically wanted the war to start and sent the Star of the West up Charleston Harbor with every bit of that intention, we answered him. We're not going to stand by and let this happen. And if we'll spend every last penny we have to fight for the heritage, for the memory of our ancestors. And in any case, our competitors are very sneaky. Another camp that I'd like to highlight is the Fort Sumter camp, number 1269 in downtown Charleston. They're a very quiet camp. They keep to themselves. But these men are doing a lot behind the scenes that most of my division doesn't even know about, because they're not doing it to earn awards. They're not doing it to make the paper. They're doing it to honor our ancestors. And for those of you who don't know it, out in the middle of Charleston Harbor is a little island called Chutes Folly. On Chutes Folly is a fort called Castle Pinckney. And Castle Pinckney has a long, long history of defending Charleston, and it was a Confederate fort. The Fort Sumter camp owns Castle Pinckney. And what is so cool about it is many, many years ago, they had the opportunity to buy it from the Army Corps of Engineers. And the only way that they would agree to make a money transfer is they spent $10 Confederate and bought Castle Pinckney. So they're out there, they're preserving that. And I can't get into all the details, but there's archaeological digs taking place on Castle Pinckney on a regular basis. It's an extremely important spot in Charleston Harbor. Obviously, we have Fort Sumter itself sitting over there, but there's also Castle Pinckney. And so in the coming years, y'all will hear about all kinds of finds and such that are going on at Castle Pinckney and the restoration of it. And I hope that next year's reunion, y'all are going to get a nice taste of that. At least that's the plan on it. That's one of the things Fort Sumter camp's doing. Another thing is they've stepped in and helped with the Star of the West camp. For those of you who do not know, the Star of the West camp is number 1253. It is at the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. To my knowledge, it is the only SCV camp on a college campus. And what more important campus can it be than the Citadel? They pulled the lanyard on the first shot. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They did it. So that camp has struggled over the years because of negative environment that they're in. Y'all know the deal. Anti-Confederate, everything. The Citadel will no longer allow them to take guns off of the property, their cannons, to go shoot them. So there's been huge problems down there. Plus, it's really hard to keep a camp going when you know that even if you get a camp member, he or she, well, he will be gone in 4 years, because you have to be a college student to be in the Citadel, in the Star of the West camp. So I will tell you that this Fort Sumter camp has stepped in heavily, and that camp is about to be officially going again. And I think it's extremely, extremely important. And I try to acknowledge them every chance that I get. So that's a and also out of all the military colleges during the war, and there was a bunch of very fine ones. I can't speak of those over there on the Mississippi River area, but VMI and the Citadel are obvious on here. But one thing to keep in mind is there are more battle streamers on the Citadel's battle flag than any other military college in this nation's history. So I cannot express to you how pleased I am that the Fort Sumter camp has stepped in and is helping to take care of that. Also taking care of that camp over the past several years is Succession Camp number 4, also in the Charleston area. And Succession Camp has been extremely, extremely active. Within the last 2 years, they put up at least an 8-foot monument down at Magnolia Cemetery in Charleston for the South Carolina men who fought at the Battle of Gettysburg. So while all these monuments were coming down around the rest of the country, Succession Camp number 4 was putting it up. And they continue to very much impress me with their heritage ride. They have a motorcycle ride that they conduct, and they have all kinds of activities. That camp is absolutely a beacon of hope for the SCV, which is why they made me extremely proud and became the SCV Camp of the Year at this year's reunion. And it was very, very well deserved. So if any of you guys are out there, just know that you've made not only the division proud, but our Confederation is proud of the work that you've done. And so in any case, moving on, that same camp has elected and been selected to host the 2024 National Reunion, which will be in Charleston. Moose, I'll have to get you a flyer, and so that way you can advertise it. But
Thanks.
we are extremely, extremely excited to have the Confederation coming to Charleston, where it all started. And to be able to show everybody who's never been here before, like Castle Pinckney. I know for a fact that the boys that are managing Castle Pinckney, I made a suggestion to them, and they are going to be raffling off flags. And by the way, if you're in downtown Charleston and you're on the Battery, you look out into the harbor, 99 times out of 100, there's a Confederate flag flying on Castle Pinckney. And the people and the government of downtown Charleston despise it. And now they will occasionally change it for various flags of various events that are going on. But for the most part, there is a Confederate flag, one of them flying up there. And so as a fundraiser, they will be auctioning off some of those flags that flew over Castle Pinckney and Charleston Harbor at the 2024 reunion to raise money to help restore it. So I think that's going to be really, really cool. And so Succession Camp is hosting it solo on their own, this huge reunion. So y'all make sure you come, because you'll get to see the Hunley if you haven't seen the Hunley, and you'll see Castle Pinckney. And I don't know, I haven't seen the tour schedule, but Moultrie and Fort Sumter, and Lord knows we got all kinds of stuff for y'all to see here. Okay. And if you want to see Yankees, we have plenty of those you can come see too. Okay. And but leave your firearms at home. And there's I know, well, carry them for personal protection, but the SCV does not recommend shooting people. So in any case, there's so many other camps in the division that have done so much. The Kynard Camp number 35, the Litchfield Camp 132, the Rivers Bridge Camp 842. I could sit here all night. These guys are unsung heroes that are doing it the way our ancestors did it. Our ancestors didn't march and ride trains up to Virginia and didn't spend cold winters up there to get a medal. They didn't do it for anything but to defend our land. And I am very proud to say that the majority of the South Carolina Division camps are doing that same thing. I have to beg them for pictures like you were doing, Moose. I have to beg people for, please let me share it with the rest of the division, what y'all are doing, because it's incredible how much work is actually being done. One of these days, maybe we'll have the ability, and I'm trying this within the division to have an active log of what's going on. And by the way, that's something else. I don't know what the other divisions are doing, but we've started a program in the South Carolina Division that we are going to log every one of our Confederate monuments, but it needs to go further than that. It's the same thing we're doing with graves registration, latitude, longitude, pictures, all of this. But more importantly, we're going to make sure that either a person or a camp basically becomes the guardian over those monuments, because we want them visited 3 times a year at least. We want it documented, because if we end up in court, we will be able to show that we have a legal standing to defend that monument if we have a long history of maintaining it, visiting it, and everything else. So for the other divisions, if you're not doing that from a legal standpoint, it's probably an extremely wise idea. Archie Herring. I don't know if Archie's on here. Archie Herring is one of those very quiet people who does an incredible amount of work. Archie Herring started the Guardian program, or actually inherited the Guardian program here in South Carolina. And that is where individual soldiers' graves are, you can request and be approved to be the guardian over a soldier's grave. And as far as we're concerned, like you'll see my guardian pins on top. Why? Because the grave that I am guarding is much, much more important than my life memberships or anything that I do. It's that man in that grave and honoring his grave. And Archie Herring has not only spread that Guardian program throughout our division, but he is helping several other divisions start their Guardian programs. So it's one of those deals. And I'm going to tell you guys, if you go out to the graves that you're the guardian over, and you're sitting down and you're having a chat with those boys, and the hair doesn't stand up on your arm, something's wrong. Something's very, very wrong. And so the Guardian program is unreal. Flags, we have a South Carolina Relics Room and Military Museum is what it's called now. That's another place. If on your way into Charleston, if y'all are driving, y'all need to stop in Columbia, South Carolina. And it's not necessarily my favorite place, but the South Carolina Relics Room is. And this ain't an ad for them. This is me sharing some information with y'all. You walk into that place, and there's probably 20 to 30 original unit flags on display in there. And the reason I thought about this is the hair standing up on my arm. You go into that museum, and you see the flags that our ancestors carried into battle. And you see the names written on the flags of all the battles that they were in, and how the silk is torn and the bullet holes. And that's what it's all about, guys. It's our responsibility to preserve this. And of course, we support the Relics Room, and Randy Burbage is on our committee for flags and uniform preservations. The division gives generously to preserve the flags there, to preserve uniforms. And just like within every museum, you're probably only seeing 1/5 of what they have on the display floor. There's all this other stuff. And I never realized, I think I was raised and went into the wrong business. I should have been in the business of preserving uniforms and flags, because that cost a lot of money. A lot of money. Okay. So in any case, that's some of the stuff that is going on around the South Carolina Division. We are getting ready and preparing for y'all, and cannot wait to have all of y'all here. And in addition, Councilman Ramsey informed me that the GEC would love to have a memorial service for the ANV here in South Carolina next year. So I think they're throwing it all on us. And so there'll be plenty of opportunities for you to come visit this state next year. And if I can ever be of assistance to any of you gentlemen or ladies, and speaking of ladies, and Moose, I see you getting closer. So, but before I go, I want to tell you that a lot of our success in this division is because the UDC, as well as the Order of the Confederate Rose, we try to work with them very, very closely. Our South Carolina Division Confederate Memorial Day service is a joint Memorial Day service with the South Carolina Division of the United Daughters of the Confederacy. And we have strived over the last 3 to 4 years to make sure that any of the breaks that had happened prior to my time, that they're not there. We're brothers and sisters and have to take care of one another. And we do that and have done that. And so also the children of the Confederacy, I can't say enough about those young men and women. Some of them, Miss Tucker is one of them, and get up and sing in front of 200 people. I don't know how she does it. I couldn't get up and sing in front of 200 people right now. Of course, y'all would egg me anyway, so it wouldn't really matter. I'd run. But these ladies, and something else to keep in mind is when you're looking at these children of the Confederacy, they have the rest of their lives to lose, essentially. They're stepping up. I got fired from a corporation because I had an SCV license plate on my truck that I refused to take off. And I was there for over 20 years. And that was at least 10 years ago. That's nothing compared to what these young people are running into. And I say young, anybody 30 or under, because if you have a Confederate flag on in any one of your social media accounts, you can kiss that job goodbye that you're trying to get, or everything else. So they really have it very, very difficult, much more difficult than we ever had it. Now, Moose, you're a younger man, so you probably have a hard time. So anyway,
it's a sacrifice. I know a lot of my fellow members in this cause, my age, are willing to take it. Again, it pales into comparison what of our ancestors went through. So if I get to just feel a fraction of the pressure they did, I wear it like a proud badge.
I'm a finish up with a story. I'm a storyteller sometimes. Okay. And this is a God's honest truth. And I'm not, and it being Halloweenish, I think this is very appropriate. And I'm not venturing into the world of trying to convince anybody of different beliefs or religious beliefs or nothing else. I'm going to share some facts with you. And this is one of many things that have happened to me. And one of the reasons that I don't care how bad it gets, I'm going to continue fighting. Because my good friend, Kenneth Britton's his name. Kenneth has Scotch-Irish background as I do, except that Scottish comes more out in him. He glows red when he gets mad, and I can tell. That's when I run. In any case, Kenneth, he lives up near me and spent a 2.5-hour drive to go down to Aiken about 5 years ago. And he went to Aiken like we all did, not to Aiken, but he went hunting his ancestors' grave. He wanted to find his ancestors' Confederate grave. So he loaded up his wife and his 3-year-old grandson and drove to 2.5 hours. And I think the trip alone, 2.5 hours with a 3-year-old in the car, might have been enough to set me off, okay? But they made it, and they got to a cemetery and looked all through it, nothing. That's when they found out that there was 2 more cemeteries in the Aiken area with the same name. And Irish luck would have it that it was the last cemetery that he searched that day in the summertime in Aiken, South Carolina, looking for his ancestor. But even then, he couldn't find his Confederate ancestor. He walked that cemetery and walked that cemetery and walked that cemetery and went back up to the gate leading into it and leaned, and I can almost envision him just disgust, okay? Just absolutely. You're so disappointed that you get well, if you're Scottish, you get angry. Any excuse to get angry if you're Scottish. Okay, so he pulls out a cigar and is smoking on a cigar, and it is so evident that his 3-year-old grandson walks up to him and says, "Papa, what's wrong?" And Kenneth flashes out of his anger, "Well, son, it's like this. I'm looking for my great-granddaddy's grave, and I can't find it, and I'm kind of upset about it." The 3-year-old looks at him and goes, "I know where it's at, Papa. I'll take you to it." Reaches up, grabs Kenneth's finger. 3-year-old now, can't read, can barely speak. Leads him about 50 yards straight into the cemetery, takes a left, goes another 40 yards over to the fence line, and points down at the grave, and there's his ancestor's grave. And it was facing the outer fence line. And Kenneth could not understand what was going on. He just had his 3-year-old grandson lead him over there. So Kenneth looks down at him and goes, "Son, how'd you know that was there?" He goes, "That man, that nice old man, he showed it to me." The cemetery is in the middle of the woods. It's horse pastures. There's nothing anywhere. There's nobody around. And the little old man said that I can have that purple ball that's over in the woods. So Kenneth jumps the fence, goes into the woods, finds the purple ball, brings it back. I share this story to you, gentlemen, because the next time you go to visit your ancestor's grave, or the next time you go to that grave that you're the guardian over, be it known, they know you're there, and they will thank you. With that, I wish God's blessing upon all of y'all, and love to see you next year in South Carolina.
Wow. What a great story to end on. I want to thank Commander Perry Smith for coming on. From just hearing him speak tonight, I can tell we are the same gentleman, maybe just from different eras. I agreed with him on a lot of stuff. Well, agreed with you on everything. And I am just honored to hear about what South Carolina's doing. I cannot wait for the future because I can't wait for you to come back. I can't wait to come to Reunion next year and explore all that history. I was in South Carolina a while ago with my father. Me and him, of course, are big history nerds. I don't know if y'all noticed this with him raising me and him being historian in chief, but we're sadly on a timetable, so there's a couple things we didn't get to do that I really wanted to, and so I'm definitely taking advantage of it come Reunion. And of course, I can't wait for y'all's national event. I really hope I can make it. But again, sir, thank you for coming on and telling us about South Carolina. Y'all are working very hard for the charge, and that does bring a warm smile to my face that I know I have a fellow brother and a fellow division helping us all in this fight, because we're all in this together. I'll hear a lot of people say, and of course it goes back to before the war, there's a lot of state pride in the South. So I'm sure that I'm going to be the Mississippian that says, I think Mississippi is the best state in the South. And I might be right. I think I am. But, and then here, Kenny's shaking his head down below. But, in our organization, a lot of times you'll hear someone from that division. My division's leading the charge. But I think all of us together, working together, division helping division, camp helping camp, brigade helping brigade, armies helping armies, forming together this national organization, international organization. The SCV is leading the charge, and we are going to fight for our ancestors. We're not going to let them down. And I know I'm fighting so my kids, my grandkids, don't have to worry about if they put the SCV logo on a Facebook profile picture. Hello, school district that will remain unnamed. And of course, that they can get a good job and they can be proud of what I am so honored to be a part of, the SCV, and more importantly, my family ancestry. That price was paid in their blood. And I'm honored to be a descendant of Private S.O. Dawes, a Confederate veteran. I want to thank everybody for watching. Share this out, especially if you're in the Army of Northern Virginia. Yes, I see you. Share it. And of course, Army of Tennessee, share it. Army of Trans-Mississippi, share it. This was a great episode. I had a fantastic time. There's no better way, I said it earlier today, to celebrate my 12th year in the SCV than tonight hearing about just another SCV division, what they have going on. It's one of my greatest privileges and truly something that I'm so happy I've been blessed with. Make sure you share this out. Make sure you tune in Monday for another episode of SCV Chat, 7 p.m. Confederate Standard Time. We will have the Executive Director, Adam Southern, on to talk about your museum and Elm Springs. So make sure you tune in for that. And next Thursday, we will have, the Commander-in-Chief on for Commander's Comments the first Thursday of every month. It's been great seeing everybody. As always, thank you for tuning in. And to remember, my friends, to stay Southern. Good night, everybody.